Formula One has been the home of some of the most intense sporting rivalries. And after all, this is what defines a competition. Each one of the competitors wants to beat the others and establish himself as a champion, as a master of his sport. Pride, prestige, glory. All these are things that only come with being victorious, and as we shouldn't be amazed that breathtaking rivalries are born from the desire to obtain all this recognition. James Hunt and Niki Lauda, Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet, Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen. These are just a few of the amazing rivalries Formula One has produced, but there is one that really stands out above the others, and that is the one between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. Hi guys, here is F1 to you, and this is the second episode of the Ayrton Senna, the Magician of Formula One miniseries on my channel. If you haven't seen the first episode, you can watch it by following the link in the right corner of the screen. In this video, I am going to talk about Ayrton's McLaren years, a period that, in my opinion, will be best described by the words success and rivalry. So, in 1988, Ayrton moved to McLaren from Lotus. From the first test with that year's McLaren Challenger, the MP44, powered by the powerful V6 Honda engine, it was clear that the car had loads of speed in it. The only question remained over how the relationship between two-time world champion at that time Alain Prost and his fast new teammate Ayrton Senna was going to evolve. And if Prost was thinking that they would be in a master and apprentice-like situation, he certainly took a very cold shower. After the first 6 rounds of the season, each of them had 3 wins, but it was the qualifying where Senna was absolutely in a different dimension, having taken pole at all the races disputed up to that point. At that year's Monaco Grand Prix, Senna gave one of his most remarkable performances. After outqualifying his teammate by over 1.4 seconds, he took a commanding lead in the race. With 12 laps to go, he was in front by no less than 50 seconds, but a lapse in concentration made him hit the wall at the exit from Portier and retire. However, he continued to trade victories with Prost in the fight for the championship, so the penultimate round in Japan, both of them were still in title contention. A problematic start saw Senna drop from pole to 14th place. What happened next would consolidate Senna's reputation as a driver that never gives up fighting. Charging through the field, he was already in 4th by the end of the 4th lap. After a thrilling pass on Prost, Senna took the lead to win the race, this way becoming the 1988 F1 World Champion and finally achieving his childhood dream. But before the 1989 season to start, Prost was already planning to come back stronger and prove he's the top dog in Formula One. His first major altercation with Senna that year happened at the San Marino Grand Prix. After a front row lockout, the two McLaren drivers agreed that whoever would be leading after the first corner would not be contested by the other one for the race win. After the first start, Senna took the lead, but following Gerhard Berger's horrific crash at Tamburello, the race had to be restarted. This time though, it was Prost who made a better start, only to be repassed by Senna later on that lap. In the end, Prost felt like Senna disobeyed their pre-race agreement, while the Brazilian interpreted that the agreement was still in his favor since he had already beaten Prost at the first start. Nonetheless, after this incident, their relationship massively fell apart for the rest of the season. Their rivalry soon became a global news story, culminating with the penultimate round of the 1989 season at Suzuka. Ayrton needed to win in order to keep his championship hopes alive, but after taking pole in qualifying, he was passed by Prost at the start of the race. However, after the pit stops, Senna started to close the gap to Prost and eventually caught him. On lap 47, Senna launched his attack at the final chicane. Prost turned in and the two of them collided. While Prost immediately jumped out of the car and retired after the incident, Senna was held by the marshals to rejoin the track. After going to the pits to replace his nose cone, he came back in second behind Benetton's Alessandro Nannini. With 2 laps to go, he passed Nannini to win the race, but his joy didn't last for long. With one of the most controversial decisions in the Formula One history, the stewards disqualified Senna for illegally joining the track, with Prost being crowned champion. The following year, Prost moved to Ferrari, but his rivalry with Senna didn't end. After losing the 1989 championship, Ayrton worked harder to become an even better racing driver, and the intra-team dynamic between him and his new teammate Gerhard Berger proved to be a very positive one. After a successful season, Senna and Prost were again battling for the title at the penultimate race in Japan. Only this time round, Prost needed to win in order to keep his title hopes alive. After the qualifying sessions, Senna was once more on pole position, which at this race was off its normal grid slot on the dirtier part of the track. Senna felt this would give an unfair advantage at the start to his title rival Prost, qualified on second, but his pre-race attempts to have it changed were unsuccessful. On race day, as Senna predicted, Prost took the better start, but left a gap opened on the inside of the first corner. Senna went for it, and Prost also decided to switch for the inside line, resulting in the two of them colliding and retiring from the race. This way, Senna was crowned champion for the second time in his career. In 1991, Ferrari failed to build a competitive car, meaning that Prost couldn't challenge Senna for the title. However, the challenge did came from Nigel Mansell and Williams, their car being the fastest on the grid towards the second part of the season. Arriving at his home race at Interlagos, Senna was still missing victory on home soil. After taking pole, Senna started well and pulled away from the two Williams-Renault cars. However, on the final stages of the race, the gearbox from Senna's McLaren stuck into the sixth gear. Still, Senna miraculously managed to stay in front of Patrese to take an emotional first win in his home race in front of an adoring crowd. In the end, after a difficult season trying to keep Nigel Mansell and Williams at bay, Senna succeeded to win his third and final title, becoming one of the all-time greats of Formula 1, and clearly the most popular driver on the grid at that time. Also, Ayrton's stats at the end of 1991 were just insane, having taken pole at no less than 68% of the races disputed in the previous 4 years, and having won 46% of these races. Unfortunately for Senna, in 1992, Williams began a period of pure dominance, so Nigel Mansell stormed to that year's title. Multiple reliability issues for McLaren meant that Senna could not finish higher than 4th in the championship standings, his highlight of the year being an impressive victory in Monaco over Nigel Mansell. Williams also announced that Prost was going to drive for them in 1993, one of the Frenchman's conditions being not to be partnered up with Senna, a statement that awakened the anger of the Brazilian.
It's impossible to accept somebody to come to a team February in the year with a signed contract, Vito, myself and himself too, and eventually they change his side but stay with the Vito and myself. And I think if Prost wants to be called the sole champion, 3 times world champion, come back in a sportive way, maybe win another championship, he should be sportive. The way he's doing, he's behaving like a coward.
However, even though Prost easily won the 1993 championship, I think that the 93 season was also Senna's best one in Formula 1, winning 5 races in the inferior McLaren. The European Grand Prix, held at Donington Park that year, represents one of the best examples of pure Senna brilliance. With the race starting in damp conditions, Senna overtook 4 cars in only the first lap to take the lead. A masterful drive to victory completed one of the most iconic races in the Formula 1 history. Also, the 1993 season was marked by Senna and Prost finally coming to terms one with another, bringing a nice end to one of the most intense rivalries in the history of sports. The last race of the season, the Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide, was the last time either of them would be on the podium. But more about this in the next and final episode of the series. So guys, this has been the second episode of the Ayrton Senna, the Magician of Formula 1 miniseries. Please give a like to this video and subscribe to my channel if you have enjoyed it. Here was F1 to you, and I'll see you in the next one.